Throughout the lessons in this title, we've been sneaking the odd peek at some of the PowerPoint options available to you in PowerPoint 2007. Just an example, when we were checking our spelling in our presentation, we looked at the proofing options. A couple lessons ago, we looked at some of the more popular options in PowerPoint 2007. We even modified our quick access toolbar in the last lesson, looking at some of those options as well. Well, now we're going to look at advanced options, and that's what they're called, although they're not all that advanced. There are many, many more options for you to be aware of. Now, it doesn't matter if you have a presentation open on your screen right now, because we are going to go to the Office button, and we're going to click on PowerPoint options. So we looked at popular, proofing, some of the save options, customize is where we went to adjust or modify our quick access toolbar. But here we have advanced, and we're going to click on that. Now under advanced you see many, many groups including editing options, cut, copy and paste, display, slideshow, print, and as I scroll down you can see there's even more down there for printing this particular document, saving, and some general stuff at the bottom. So let's just skim through this so you're aware. Under editing options, you may have noticed when we were selecting text, clicking and dragging with our mouse over text, you get halfway through a word when all of a sudden the entire word would be selected. And that's because this is checked off. So if that bothers you, here's where you turn it off. Once we've selected text, we're allowed to click and drag it to other locations. That's called drag and drop, and that's because this is checked off. The maximum number of undos by default is set to 20. The higher the number, the more memory you need to accommodate that. Under cut, copy, and paste, we use something called Smart Cut and Paste, which means when I cut something, I can paste it in the exact same location on another slide. It remembers where it was on the previous slide. It's smart enough to do that. Show Paste Option buttons is also enabled. Under Display, you can see that the number of recent documents to be listed when we click our Office button is set to 17. So if that's too many for you, you can just knock it down. I'm going to put mine down to 10. Show all windows in the taskbar, so if we have many presentations open at once, we're going to see them all at the bottom. Show shortcut keys and screen tips, so as we hover over some of the tools, you'll see in brackets, for example, printing, Control-P is the shortcut key. If you don't need to see that, you don't use keyboard shortcuts, you can deselect this checkbox. There's a vertical ruler that shows up when it's needed, and open all documents using this view. This is our default view, the view saved in the file. So whatever view you were in when you save the file is the one you're going to see when you come back. I like that. Under Slideshow, you can see Show Menu on the right mouse click. So when we right click anywhere on a presentation slide during the slideshow, we see a pop-up menu that allows us to quickly go to the first slide, the last slide, previous slide, skip, and all kinds of things. There's also a pop-up toolbar during the slideshows. Prompt to keep ink annotations when exiting. So when we use markup, for example, the highlighter, the felt pen, the ballpoint pen, and we're drawing attention to specific parts of a slide, we can save that ink when we exit the slideshow. And we saw that pop up when we used some of those tools. The very last slide in a presentation is that black slide where at the top it says press escape to exit. And that's because this is checked off down here, end with black slide. And it's not a bad idea because in the old days you get to the last slide and if you didn't remember it was your last slide, it would automatically take you back to the presentation view where people would see your actual work. So if you're only interested in them seeing the slides in a presentation and you need a reminder when you get to the end, keep this checked. It'll always end with a black slide. Under the print group, I'm going to scroll down a little bit to bring that up. You can see that printing does happen in the background, and that means we can be doing other things while presentations are printing. We are not printing TrueType fonts as graphics. They're printing as fonts, but if you wanted them to be treated as graphics, you could. Print inserted objects at the printer resolution is not selected, so the resolution of the graphic or object that you insert into a presentation is how it's going to stay. So if you had a 300 by 300 dots per inch GIF file, let's say, a picture on your slide, that's the resolution it's going to stay at unless we were to select to use the printer's resolution here. High quality, aligned, transparent graphics, neither of these are selected as well by default, but you can. Then we get into print options for this specific presentation. Now, if you don't have a presentation open, then you won't see this, but we can set some options for just this presentation. And we can use the most recently used print settings, or we can set up our own for this presentation by clicking this radio button and then choosing whatever it is that we want to set up. We already talked about print options when we were printing presentations in a previous lesson. I'm going to move it back to use the most recently used print settings. Under the Save group, link sounds with file size greater than 100. So that means that the sounds that are in a presentation are linked to that presentation as opposed to embedded when they get to be over 100 kilobytes. So that's a good one because often when you have music or maybe it's an entire song that's attached to a slideshow, it can really increase the size of that presentation. Sometimes it's better to just link sounds, and you can choose the size before that linking happens. And then a couple of general options down below. Provide feedback with sound, so you'll hear a beep when there's feedback if you check this box off. And then there's stuff for add-ons here, or add-ins as they call them down here on the user interface. So clicking OK saves any changes you may have made, and that covers the advanced options in Microsoft PowerPoint.